Hey, welcome to Talkback. We are so glad that you are joining in with us. We are going to field some questions that came out of Sunday's message on Velcro and Teflon and how to be a people of vision and not convenience. With us today, we have Reverend Christi Dillon, who is our pastoral care catalyst, and we are so grateful to have her on staff at West and a part of West. And so we're going to dive right into your questions.
All right. First question. During the message, you mentioned how science and faith can work together. Can you talk more about that?
Science and faith working together. So I think one of the biggest criticisms of Christianity with people right now in our world that don't want anything to do with formalized religion is that religion turns its head to scientifically proven things. And in some faith traditions, that is true, but not in United Methodism. Like, we embrace that science and spirituality, or science and religion, can coexist. And so one of the ways is in the ways that we are hardwired as people. Like, studies have shown, neuroscientists have proven that we are hardwired for negativity, that we have a bent toward thinking and feeling the bad things. And then to counteract that, though, we have this beautiful faith principle that aligns itself with scientific strategies to overcome that negativity. Like, one of the researchers, Dr. Mason, is one of the studies that I read, said that if you will think a positive thought or feeling for 15 seconds, if you will do it for 15 seconds, it will take effect with the neurons in your brain, but that it really does take that long to actually register. So that's a scientifically proven principle and strategy. But in faith, we also are taught to be a people of hope. And so hope and thinking positive things, to me, they mean the same thing. What do you think, Christi?
I agree. I definitely agree with that. And I know how it is for preachers when you get, a couple things that are maybe negative. But it's also that way for teachers. If you think back to when you were teaching, you might get 10 people that say, "You're doing a great job. My child loves your class." But if you get 2 people that complain to your principal or just outright don't like you or have something to say about you, it's so true. And so every time I would get something super positive from somebody, like a note or a drawing, like "I love you, Miss Dillon," things like that. Like, I had a file, and I have a file in my desk at work to remind me. Because you're right. It's so hardwired because that's what you think about. You dwell on the bad thing. So I'm trying that 15-second thing, starting now.
Yeah. And if you didn't watch Sunday's sermon, you can find a link for that on our webpage, or go to our app, or our new handy dandy YouTube channel. But one of the strategies is to think it literally for 15 seconds. Think the positive thought or statement. And that's the science part, and the faith part is to have hope that good is yet to come. Like, we can always focus on just the bad, but what if we changed our focus, and what if we actually thought about the good things that could come?
I like that. I hope it works.
I'm going to try it too. I'm going to try it too. I did not try it this week, so.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it as well.
Yes, a little bit of homework.
Yep. All right, next question. So this kind of, goes right along with that. What do you do when the negative thoughts you had always seem to outweigh the positive? How can you help control that?
Well, you keep nice things people have written to you that you can look at.
Yeah.
Or funny things. Like, I have some things on my phone that I can look at that are funny, that'll make me laugh and not think about, some of the negative things.
Yeah.
I think it's trying to train your brain to go somewhere different.
Yeah.
You know.
And there are actually a lot of books out there now that I'll try to find and put links to, and podcasts about how to rewire or hardwire your brain to be positive. But it really is a scientific principle called neuroplasticity. That is the fancy term for the rewiring of your brain. I think sometimes we also have to recognize that we are thinking negatively, and sometimes that takes having people that love us and that are our safe places to say to us, you are only thinking about the bad right now. Like, you are creating really negative realities. Like, I was talking to somebody the other day that has some pretty serious things that they're worried about, legit things. And, I understood what all they were worried about, but there were also some counterpoints that were positive that I noticed that they just weren't saying at all. And I was really impressed, though, because after they went through all their negative, they said, but I know I can't continue to choose to think this way. And that's when I used the statistic from Prep for Sunday's message that 96% of the things that we worry about never come true. And so I think to combat those negative thoughts, we have to acknowledge that we have them, and acknowledge and own that we get stuck in our negativity, and be willing to consciously say, I'm not going to think these negative things anymore right now. I'm going to think positively. I think that's that whole being a people of vision. You have to take that step to make that happen.
Yeah, it's nice to have somebody there, like you were saying, to point it out, because sometimes we can't see it
Right.
for ourselves. And I've tried to make it was really hard for me to go back to work during the pandemic. So I tried to make my room like a kind of a zen chill place. So I put up some like fairy lights at my window, and I have a warmer thing that does that you can put wax in and certain smells. And so I've tried to make my classroom like really like chill, and so you can come in and like look and see and smell like nice calming things.
Good.
So and across the hall I was going back in my room, and there was a little girl from my friend's class just crying, just standing in the hallway crying.
Oh.
And I was like, what's wrong? Mask on and everything. It's really hard to show expression. I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, nothing. And I'm like, so I said, okay. I said, if you want to come in my room and sit for a little bit, you can. And so her teacher actually she said no, but her teacher brought her in, and he was like, can she sit in here with you, Miss Dillon, for a little bit? And he actually told her, he said, Miss Dillon has some problems sometimes with with being upset about something. And she was really upset because there was something she couldn't remember about, like, main idea, how to find the key details, like in a passage, or something like that, third grade, and so he was like, Miss Dillon understands how you feel. And I was like, yeah, come in here. I was like, do you smell the nice smell in here? So she sat in my room, and, I said, if you're far enough away, you can take off your mask and you can go sit by the window where the lights are. So eventually, like, she calmed down and got up and, like, walked and sat by the lights, and then, like, went to read some posters on my wall. And then once she felt better, she left.
So we have to make those conscious choices.
Yes.
I mean, and how cool of you to provide that environment.
I was very happy to do that. I was like, and adults can come in here too. So like we had our third grade teacher meeting in there, and we were all talking about, because of course we always talk about the bad things that have happened at first, and then we end up laughing. But, everybody's like, oh, it smells so good in here. And I put the scenes from calm.com. You can click on scene, and so I put it on my smartboard, so like you can hear the ocean and see it, and so it's really cool. It helps, I'm telling you.
What's the word? Tactile reminders, smell, touch,
and those things you can squeeze.
Yeah,
like
those
have some
things
of those.
matter.
Absolutely.
And that kind of leads right into the next question. What if you can't think of positive thoughts? You guys were just addressing that right there. Get smells.
Find something you can look at that calms you down, or you can smell that calms you down, or a sound, all of those things.
I go to my friends, honestly, like there are times that I can't think positive things, like my brain just gets so engulfed in negative thoughts, whether it's personal or work or whatever, and I just feel like I can't figure it out, I have gotten to the place where I will be vulnerable enough with those that love me and know that I need a safe space to say, I need to hear some affirmation. My ego needs stroking just a little. I need you to tell me some good. And I'm sorry that I need that right now, but I need it.
Absolutely.
And they will point out that there are lots of good things. And sometimes I think it takes hearing it from other people. And that's why I just believe we're meant to be in community with one another, you know, because sometimes we do go to those dark places in our own brains, and we need someone that loves us to speak truth to us. And, you know, they're not just, forgive the phrase, but blowing hot air. You know, they really are telling us the things about us that they see.
Exactly. One time I was worried about something that was happening at work. And Adam, this is what Adam said to me. Instead of thinking about how bad or wrong or whatever that person has, their actions or have made you feel, instead of thinking about that, think about how awesome you are. You know?
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know that I'm awesome, but tell me more about that.
That's when you
awesome.
pull out the
But-
famous phrase, tell me
Tell
more
me
about
more about that.
Oh.
But it did help. I was like, you know what? Instead of thinking about how that person has really upset me or whatever, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm good at this. I can do this.
Good.
You know, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And sometimes it's really hard to tell yourself that.
Yeah, and I think it takes us having courage to say to those that love us, I'm struggling right now and I can't think of anything
can't,
positive
right.
about myself. I need you to tell me some positives, because people around us don't always pick up on the fact that we're struggling.
Right.
So we need to be vulnerable and say, I'm struggling right now.
Definitely.
Yep, and that again leads right into the next one. You guys are like on it today, the science thing. How do we get people to act kind towards each other? So I mean, you're exactly right. You know, what do we do to get people to help to act kind to each other?
I guess we have to point out those positive things that we were talking about.
Yeah. And recognize that in a perfect world, we could make each other be kind, but we can't. So we can just, even when people aren't kind to us, respond in kindness. And I wrestle with that a little.
Me too.
Had a situation a few weeks ago, and you know, just somebody just said some really snarky things, and luckily I bit my lip and only said one tiny statement back.
Was
but
this to your face?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had a whole list of things I
Yeah.
wanted to say, and I'm like, no,
course.
I'm just going to walk away. And in that moment, you know, just recognize that I can't help them be kind to me, but I can respond kindly, which doesn't always mean fancy words and nice things. Sometimes being kind means to say nothing. You know, that Justin Timberlake and Chris Stapleton song, Say Nothing. Have you ever heard it?
I don't think so.
It's I don't know exactly the name of it, but it's a great song. And one of the lines in it is, sometimes it's best just to say nothing at all. And I'm like, yep, that needs to be my mantra.
Or to just say it. Oh, I'm done here. Gotta go.
Yep.
I can't comment on that anymore. Or
So yeah,
something
we
like
can
that.
be kind in all things, and hopefully that's that ripple effect, you know, that'll take root.
All right, last one for the day. When you are feeling paralyzed, what are some of the actionable things you can do to get unstuck?
I think taking conscious, tangible action, whether it is confiding in a friend that you're stuck, journaling is important, writing down the thoughts and feelings that you're having, making lists. You know, like sometimes I'll put the negative things that I'm feeling down, and then on the opposite side of the piece of paper, write down the positive things, and then that sort of makes me start to think those things. I also think reading scripture, the Psalms, that's when the Psalms are so beautiful, because they remind us that, one of the cool things about the Psalms is that in every one of them but one, Psalm 88 is the only one that doesn't have a negative situation or feeling or thought, and it's reconciled. Lots of the songs of Psalms are praise psalms, but a great majority of them have like a yearning or a searching or a negative, but it always gets resolved. So reading the Psalms, I think, is also a good way to get unstuck. And I mean, whether scripture is literal or metaphorical, it's still a beautiful picture of people and their lives and how they go through horrific things and come out on the other end.
I think that's a good time to go back to your gratitude too. Like wherever, like if you're keeping a journal, or even if you just stop and think about the things that you're grateful for. Even if it's like I got out of bed today, like that kind of thing. I think that can help us get like unstuck from some of the ick.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, thanks for joining in. Thanks, Brad. Thank you for your questions, and we look forward to seeing you next time.